Yeah. So yesterday we learned about conditions, decision-making statements. Huh? Right. So we learned about how to use various decision-making statements like if, select, and in decision-making, single decision, multiple decisions, multi-level decisions. Example we saw how to handle. Next important. Now, what is problem in multiple decisions? What is the issue in multiple decisions? The problem in multiple decision is nothing but actually, let's take one example. So the problem in multiple decision is okay. See here the issue in multiple decisions when we write like where some n is equal to 3 and we are writing condition if n is equal to 1 then document dot write it should say 1 and else if another condition if n is equal to 2 then document dot write it should say 2 else if another condition if n equal to 3 then document dot write it should say 3 else if it is not among this document dot write please enter 1 2 3 like this. Now I will give here 1 n is equal to 1. Now let's run this. It is showing 1. That's fine. Let's go to inspect. In the inspect we will go to the design here, device rules, media queries, and yeah. Now in this what we will do is we are going to handle one option. This is normal. I will give responsive iPad. Okay. Yeah. Now in this design, one is there here. Let's go into the application here. Let's see the application. The application category is sources. Yeah. In the sources category means go to sources category in development tools. In the sources category, open this page. The page is switchdemo.html. This is the code. Now in this we have line number 3. Click on that. We will put a breakpoint there. Breakpoint means it will stop execution there. I kept a breakpoint here. So that means it will stop execution there. Pause execution there. It will continue step by step. It will tell what is happening here. You can put multiple breakpoints and you click again. It will remove the breakpoint. After keeping the breakpoint, let's go to the code and make change here n equal to 3. If I say n equal to 3 and refresh here, now you can see that the execution will pause here. Means I kept a breakpoint, then execution. You see, right side you can see here, it says that paused on breakpoint. It shows that it is paused on breakpoint, right? So it is paused at the breakpoint. So that means it paused at this location. It paused at this location. Now what you do is you check the value here. Here you can see n is here, n is 3 defined. Execution paused here. Now click on this button. So this is the button you have to select. This button indicates next step. That means you click that button, next step, then it will go to this, means it is checking first condition. N is how much? N is 3 and is equal to 1. It's not matching. Then step over. It will go to second condition. That means 3 is equal to 2. It is not matching. Step over. It will go to third condition. That means n3 is equal to 3. Then it will go into that statement. It will execute the statement and it will come out. And the output is 3. Now, if there are 20 statements, and your condition is matching with 18, then it has to check all the 18. That is burden to compiler. Why you are checking all the 18? That means after 18, it will not check. Once condition is matching, it will execute and stop. So that means, for example, now suppose if it is n value is 2. If n value is 2, I will refresh one more time. And again, it is paused in the debugger. And see, currently now n value is 2. N value is 2. So click on step over. It comes to first condition. After checking the first condition, it will go to second condition. Second condition satisfied. It will stop and come out. That's good. But if my condition is satisfying at the 19th level, then up to 19, it will check all. This is burden to compiler. Means compiler is checking all the conditions which are not necessary. If there are many conditions, then this is the problem. So better don't use if. If there are many conditions to check, don't use this if. For that, we have another important is switch selector. We have switch selector. So what is problem in if condition? The problem in if condition is it will verify every condition even it is not necessary. So switch selector advantage is it will select. What is switch selector? I will tell you. We will see that actually. Generally, in electronics, switch is used to control the flow of electrons. Switch is used to control the flow of electrons. That is the definition of switch. So in electronics, switch means to control the flow of electrons. That is the meaning of switch. And very important, there are various types of switches. There are various types of switches in electronics. Actually, if you know little bit electronics, means people who came from electronics background and all, they know this concept that switch is to control the flow of electrons, and there are so many types of switches. Like we have a push button switch, we have a toggle switch, toggle switch, push button switch. We have a toggle switch. We have a selector switch. So we have joystick switch. So many, hundreds are there. If you are aware of anything related to electronics, hundreds of types of switches will be there in electronics. So we have a push button switch, we have a toggle switch, we have a selector switch, we have a joystick switch, like that. These are switches in electronics. So generally, the point is actually, see, I will show you a simple example here. Suppose a simple basic example is this. Generally, the flow of electrons. Suppose we have a switch. We have a switch like this, actually. Now, usually we have a switch like some push button switch. Push button switch means, push button switch is nothing but when you push it, hold down, then it will continue the flow of electrons from left to right. The electrons will flow from left to right until you hold down. Once you release, then it will stop. These are push button switches. You see, like calling bells, or so until you hold down, they will ring. Once you release, they will stop. These are generally push button switches. We call them as push button. That is push button switch. And for example, you have toggle switch. Toggle switch will be like this. Toggle switch means once press, that means it will on. Again press, it will off. That means once press, it will on. Again press, it will off. This is called toggle switch. Your mobiles, laptops, power button, that is a toggle switch. That means once press, on. Again press, off. Those are toggle switches. So similarly, we have a selector switch. Selector switch means usually selector switch contains like this. A selector switch comprises of like this. So you push down, this will continue, and push up, this will continue. Means out of these two, only one will continue. These are called selector switches. Selector switches. That means when it is continuing one, the others are not touched. That means out of these, only one will execute. Out of these, only one will flow. This is general electronics. So I am not speaking any alien space research things. It is a very basic electronics. That means if you belong to electronic background, so say types of switches. So these are all the types of switches in electronics. You will find these are all types of switches. People who are electrical engineers, electronics, right? I hope they know this. Nah? Are there any electrical engineers? Are there? No. Because our electrical engineers, electronics, electrical engineers who done BTech and all, they need a person to repair their fan. And they are electrical engineer again. And a fan is not working at their home, they will call an electrician. And what you done? ECE, sir. And you can't repair even a small switch in your home, then you call yourself as an electrical engineer. That is the level of our electrical engineers. That is the level of our electrical engineers. Then you cannot expect, they know about what is a switch. If you ask what is a switch, I haven't asked you because I know If I ask a switch, you will say on off, sir. What is the purpose of switch? On off. That is the common answer we will get. But computer technologies is all about handling electronic device. In computer programming is all about handling an electronic device. Your program is working to handle an electronic device. In computer programming, every term is related to electronics. Every term is related to electronics. So that is in depth about the concept. The point here is, this is the word switch. Actually, this is switch. We have a switch. And this switch is actually technically this switch. This is the switch. And these two are called case 1, and this is case 2. These two are called cases. That means a switch contains two cases here. And what happens is, switch selects which case it wants. And the ability here is, once it selects one case, other cases are not touched. That means without touching any another case, it can directly execute only the case that it needs. This is the mechanism of a selector switch. This is the mechanism of a selector switch. A selector switch ability is to execute only what is necessary and without touching others. That is the reason this is called switch. So why it is named as switch, if and switch? Because it is having a nature of selector switch. That is the reason it is called switch. So what is the nature of this switch? So technically, switch can control the flow. So switch can control the flow of execution. Control the flow of execution by selecting only the block that matches given condition. Switch can control the flow of execution by selecting only the block that matches the condition. Actually, syntactically, so switch is written like this: switch, and here value or expression, and it will have case, and it will have statement, and it will have jump. Then default case colon, default colon, syntax this is only, and the statement and jump. That's how it manages. Here, so many questions are there. We will discuss about them. Means what is advantage of this is, it will make the application perform better because it will reduce the time taken for compiling. It will not check unnecessary conditions. I will tell you what is case, default, and all this we will see now. Here, first point, let's implement the same with a switch now. That means I am removing this here. Now I am writing switch. In the switch, I will pass this n value. That means now if the case is 1, that means n value is 1. then I will print document.write 1. And after that, it should stop. That means 2 points are there. I told you we can use break or we can use return. So initially we are using break. We will discuss those differences. Now second, here we define another case. This is 2. Then document.write, it is 2 and break. Another case is 3. Document.write 3 and break. And default. So here we defined default indicates else, means if it is not matching with any case. Here document.write, we will say please enter 1, 2, 3 and break. Okay. Now let's put this n value as 1 and refresh this here. So it is 1. Open the inspect, go to sources, and in the sources put a breakpoint at line number 3 and now change the value to 3 and once refresh here now. So it is paused at the breakpoint and it is currently empty. It is paused at the breakpoint. You can observe now. So first here n value is 3. If n value is 3, observe carefully. When I click step over, it will directly go to third block. It's not testing 1 and 2. It's not touching them at all. It's not touching. That means directly it goes to that block. And it will execute that block. And after that, it comes out. After that, it comes out. That means this looks better. The same thing if you see in if, it is checking every condition. It is unnecessary to check every condition. So that is why it is a switch selector. Switch selector will follow this mechanism. That means without touching the other cases, it will execute only what is matching, so that it improves the performance if there are multiple conditions. So if that is actually the concept of switch. But depending on situation, if there is only 1, 2 conditions, we don't use switch, because alternatively tasks have to perform. Then we generally go with if and else. But if there are many conditions, then better go with switch. Switch handles this scenario. Switch advantage is it will select only what is necessary and it will execute only which is matching for the situation. That is the basic approach. Example here. This is the common example. Let's take this example. Yeah, this is a simple example to understand here. Okay. Now let's see now if I am removing these breakpoints. So I will remove the breakpoint. Fine. Close. Now see here, usually when I enter any value 4, that means it will execute the default block. It will say, please enter 1, 2, 3. So default executes when the condition is not matching with any case. If it is matching with it, it will handle. That is basic thing. Now, what are the questions in interviews for a fresher level? The questions asked in interviews about this switch is, can we define switch without default? Can we define switch without default? So the answer is yes, we can define switch without default. If you define switch without default, that means it will work like forward jump. That means it will execute only when condition is true, and when condition is false, it will not do anything. If it is not doing anything, if it is not returning anything, it's not an error. Only the point is user don't know that it is not matching. That means without default also you can write switch. Default is not mandatory. Default is not mandatory. If you don't write default, it will not execute any alternative. So, but others it will execute. Without default, the switch will work. There is no error. You see in my inspect, in my console, there is no error. If there is error, it should be inside console showing that default is not there or something. So there is no error inside it. So if it is matching with anything, that means it will execute and it will return. If it is not matching, there is no alternative for that. There is no alternative to handle or execute for that. That's very simple. So can you define a switch without default? So the answer is yes. Without default, we can handle it. Now what will happen is, only the point is there will be no alternative. That means there will be no alternative to execute. There will be no alternative to execute. So we can define switch without default. Another question is, can we define default? Can we define default above case? Can we define default above case? Or you say above or before case? Above or before case? Can we define default above or before case? Yes. Default can be anywhere. It's not like default must be written at end. You can write anywhere. There is no order for this. There is no order for default and cases. There is no order. So you can write default anywhere. That means, for example, I return default. I return default. So above all cases, my condition is matching with 2. Then it will say 2. If my condition is matching with 3, then it will display 3. So default can be anywhere. If I say 4, then now default will execute. So default can be anywhere. It's not mandatory that it should be bottom or above. So you can keep default in between the cases also, anywhere. I can keep default in between the cases. Suppose if it is 2, then it is going to execute 2, no problem. Default can be anywhere. If I say 4, then you can define C, that will execute. So there is no order for it. Can we define default above or before case? Yes, that is not an issue. Another important question is, can we define case without break? Can we define case without break? Answer is yes. You can define case without break. That means now, but what will happen? But execution stops, but execution continues to next case, and stops when break occurred, and stops when break occurred, or will stop at the end of switch. If there is no break anywhere, then it will stop at the end of switch. So break is not mandatory. So for a case, break is not mandatory. So break is not mandatory. Without break, it will continue and it will stop at the next level. So it will stop at the next level. These situations you will come across in programming. Later, we will see examples with that. First, we need to know the rules for this. That means, suppose I am defining here. So default, as per tradition, I will keep the default at the end. Okay. And here, so I said some 2. And but after 2, there is no break. If after 2 there is no break, then it will stop when next break comes. That means it will execute 3 also, 2 and 3. That means it will not stop. It will execute to the next and it will display. It will execute 2, it will execute 3. If 3 is also not having break, then it will execute default also. That means it will execute until the break occurs. If there is no break after default also, but no problem, it will stop at default. There is no error. It's not an error. It will stop at the end of switch. So if there is a break defined, then it will stop at there. So that means it will stop at the break. If break is not there, then no problem. That's not an issue, because sometimes we do this. Sometimes what we do is, when it goes to condition 2, we want up to 4 it continues. 2 to 4 it should continue. It should not have any breaks. Such situations will come later. So in that case, we don't use break for every case, because after reaching certain case, it should continue until some other cases, then stop. That is the reason every case need not to have a break. You can define, so you can define a case without break. Then what will happen? It will stop when next break comes. Or if there is no break at all, it will stop at the end of switch. But it is not an error. That is also a general requirement. So another question is, can we define case with return as jump statement? Can we define case with return as jump statement? Instead of break, can we define return as jump statement? Yes, we can define return as jump statement. Then the question is, what is difference between break and return? So already we learned it. So break will stop the block and stays in script, and return will stop the script. That means it will terminate and it will come out of the script. So this already we discussed in the previous example. So difference between break and return. Right. So this is the option here. Now the point is, you can see the difference now. Suppose I will keep here in the debugger, inspect and source, put a breakpoint at 3, and here write N3, N2, okay, fine. And after 2, we will put return. Instead of break, I am keeping return. So then see what will happen. I refresh this. It is paused in the debugger and it is showing some return here. That means it is saying some error. So some error, some configuration error defined there. So the point here is, what is the error in this actually? That means what is the concept of error? Case, and we are using return. There can be return, there can be break. There is no problem inside this. Return, break can be there, no problem in this. Means we can use return, we can use break anywhere. Now, actually, what is issue here is when we are defining return, it will come out of the statements. That means, let's see, what is the condition here. Let's execute this. In the sources here, it's not an illegal return statement, no problem. What is n value? I will give as suppose 1, 2, 3 like this. The case switch. There is no problem here where we use it the return after this. Okay, fine. So here also we have a break to define here. There is no error, it should work. What is problem? There is no problem in this return. Let's check where we went wrong. Case 1. We have document dot write and it is 1. We have return. It is showing illegal. There is no problem. It should allow. I'll check. Case 2. Document dot write to. Why these browsers are having issue? Once I will check. where these all return statement we will keep in that section. I will keep in a body on load body load. This we will write function. What is it? Body load. Okay. That's fine. Okay. Now see here, what is the return statement? So the return statement is coming out of, because we have a script na? That means the concept about the script is it is to be executed outside the function here. Console. Let's go here. It's fine. Let's go to the source. Put a breakpoint here. And I will go here. I will keep it to 2. Now I will save this. Refresh. Yeah. Now once we refresh here, it is on body load, it is accessing and it is displaying. Now see here, so n equal to 2, I will step over, it is matching with the second case, it will go into switch, it is matching with the second case, it will execute. After executing the return statement, when I click on the step over, then you can see it comes to return. After it comes to return, it will come out of that switch. That means it will come out of the script and stops. That means actually we want it to stay inside that function and continue inside the function. Continue inside the function. In that case, we can put it with a break. If I want to come out of that function and script, I don't want to execute anymore, then we have to define by using return. Only the point is we haven't written any function. So if you are not writing function, it is unable to come out of that block. There is no block defined for that. That means, so you configured a set of statements, but there is no block for this set of statements. Then it cannot come out of that set of statements. What you can try is, you can try like this simply. Instead of writing body load and all, you can simply write like this. What you do is, means to test this return, you can try like this. You just write a function for practicing this return. So what we do into this, we will put where n is equal to some 2, and in the switch, we are passing the n value, and here we are configuring the case. It is 1. Then what should happen? Document dot write. Here we have to define 1, and after that we are giving return. Similarly, case 2 and document dot write. This is 2, and after that return. Then so what is the condition here? It is going to execute and stop there. I will remove the breakpoints just for reference sake. It is 2, and I will keep here as 1. Then it will execute that and display. No need to write body load and all, because that you will do in later example. As of now, just write in a function and call that function. Don't forget to call the function. So what is the concept between return and break? See, I will go to inspect now, and I will go to the source and put a breakpoint here, and we will change this value to 2, and we will refresh this now, and you see n is 2, and step over, it will go to the second statement. After executing the second statement, then click on step over, then it will come to return, and after return, it will come out of the function set all. That means it comes to the end of the script. That means it is not staying inside the function. So this switch is finished. If switch is finished, what break will do? If it is break, it will still stay in the function only, so that it can execute the other statements in the function. But what return is doing, return is not staying in the function, it is coming out of the script. Let's do this with break. That means here I am using break now. I am using break, and I will refresh this here. It is paused in the debugger. Let's refresh. Okay. It is paused in the debugger. Okay. Now this time we are using break. And a step over, it will come to the second. After that, it will break. After break, you can see that it is still in the function. What happened when I use return? When I use return, it came out of the function. And it came out of the function and went to script directly. So what return is going to do? Return is going to come out of the function, and it will come out of the function and end the script, terminate. For example, you see now change the n value to 1. When I change n value to 1, so it is using return. So I will refresh this now, and n is 1. Then step over, it comes to the first statement. After that, return. After return, it comes out to the script now. Previously, where it stayed inside the function. Now where it came out of the function. So technically, what is difference between return and break? Both are jump statements. So break will stop the block and stays inside the script, and return will stop the script, and you can say that it quits the block. So you have to make sure that you return inside a block. If you return inside a block, that will be easy to understand. Difference between break and return. Now, another important question is, can we define case value as a string type? Can we define case value as string type? The answer is yes. Case value not necessarily to be number. It can be string type also, but you have problem. Case value can be string type, but we have problem here. Problem is, see, for example, now here we are defining an option like where choice is, suppose here y, and we write a switch into this. We will pass the choice. Now the case is not number, it is y or n, string type. Here we are writing y, it is a string. Then document dot write use, yes, this is the message. Then yes, document dot write, say use, we have to set a break. Next option, case, if it is n, default saying that so please enter y or n. Only these things we have to handle. As per the condition you selected, yes. Now entering here n, that means it says you selected no, and I am typing here y, yes, then it says please enter y or n, but I am typing y. That means there can be string, but the problem is case sensitive. capitalization matters. Now the question is how you will handle both. How to handle both? It should accept lowercase or is how to handle case values for a set of statements. How to handle multiple case values for a set of statements. Multiple case values for a set of statements. There are two techniques. A, you can define multiple cases for this block. 2, you can change the capitalization for text. You can change the capitalization for text, or you can use multiple cases. You can change the capitalization or you can use multiple cases. Capitalization or multiple cases. You can define capitalization or multiple cases. Capitalization or multiple cases, nothing but, for example, how you will handle lowercase uppercase here. We can add another case here. We can say uppercase n. That's it. That means we can define multiple cases for one block. Here one is matching, this will execute. In that case, now uppercase or lowercase, it will say that you selected yes. You entered. There is no problem. This is one point, but this cannot happen if the case string is you can say that case 1, 2, 3. If it is matching with 1 or 2 or 3, one block will execute. If it is matching here is, this is okay. I will copy this here. This is okay. Suppose if they asked the choice as yes or no, not y or n, the word yes or no, then how you will write? Lot of consequences will be there. You have s. Now how you write? Uppercase yes. But sometimes like this, people may enter uppercase y, lowercase e, uppercase yes. Now people may enter so another case like uppercase ye and lowercase yes. Hundreds of combinations can be there. That's not. Then how do we do this? If such string values are there, then what we do is we will simply put lowercase. We will not write multiple. We will write only one. And what we do is simply here we will convert that into two lowercase. That's enough. They may write, we will finally convert into lowercase. That's easy. In that situation, it is working fine now. S. In that situation, it doesn't matter in which case you type. Suppose but automatically it will execute it. Why? Because it converts into lowercase. Are there? What are those two options? Either you write multiple cases or you change the capitalization. Writing multiple cases is okay if it is single character. If there are multiple characters, then multiple instead of multiple, you can convert into lowercase. Question here, another important question: how to define case for range of values? How to define case for range of values? This is very important. How to define case for range of values? How you can configure for a range of values? Range of values means, for example, I want like this here. Suppose I want condition then it should say that your user enters some number between 1 to 10. Suppose if it is 11 to 20, 11 to 20, then it should say your number is between 11 to 20. That means if they enter 13, it should say second one. So this is very important. How do you write this case now? That is the condition actually. Then how do you write the case now? Let's go here. Here, how do we? Now into the switch, I am passing suppose n. And what is the case? Can you possible? It's not possible. Then tell me, you learned little bit programming up to now. How to verify the value is between 1 to 10 or not? How to verify whether the value is between 1 to 10 or not? Right. N question mark. I'm asking like, how do you find out that value is between? In general programming, we use condition for that. Condition means if x is greater than, so 1 greater than or equal to 1. And am I right? And n is less than or equal to 10. But here, one more technical point is there. What it will return? What is the result of this expression? What is the result of this expression? N is greater than or equal to 1 and 10. What is the result of this expression? Result of this expression. Will it return a number? It will or false, true or false. So that means the switch is a number and you false. It will not work. It will not work because the result of this case is a true false Boolean value. But your case is number. Until or unless it is 0 or 1. 0, 1 can be compared na? In JavaScript already we discussed that. It should be true. It should be true. That means if switch true, true means this is true. That is matching. Then what will happen? Says your number and that number is n, right? Your number is between. Then break. We will write another condition. That means case if n is greater than 10 and n is less than or equal to how much? 20. Equal to 20. If this is matching, then document dot write. So is between one put break. Anything else you can write default. You can say that it is a number negative. So that means how you define range of values for switch. You need a Boolean switch for range of values. This is very important. That means to define range of values. You see here now, the value is 3. If the value is 3, you say your number 3 is between 1 to 10. Right? If anything else, we haven't written default. So if anything else, it will not return. Default return. So we will write a default. So what is the default? Document dot write. So your number. 20 because I defined here, I will it is negative. So or about 20. So we can write the condition in that way. You can also write if n is less than 0, then you can say that please enter a positive number. You can write the conditions here. You can configure how you manage range. Remember, while using range, switch cannot contain anything else, only true, not even false. It cannot contain false. Switch must contain only true, and the cases must return a Boolean, true or false. Now one more question will come. If anybody asked you like, if two cases are matching the condition, then which one will execute? Matching the condition, then which one it will execute? It will execute only first one. The first occurrence one will execute. That means you return condition. When you return condition, you can write a condition in such a way. That means, for example, if it is case, in this case, n is greater than your number It is 5 to 20. 5 to 20 matching. 5 to 20 matching. There are 5 to 20 matching. There are two conditions, na? What will happen? So I said document dot write. I'm writing document dot write, and I said your number and n is between 5 to 20. I'm writing like put a break there, 5 to 20, and we will put a break there. Now, if it is 5 to 20 and we put a break here, so the condition matching are between 1 to 10. That means the first one condition is matching at several cases. Which one will execute? First case only executes. The first matching case will execute several. So what is the answer for this question? How to define case for range of values? By using now only boolean true. Switch can have conditions, multiple conditions are matching, then it only it will execute only the first. It will execute only the first. The range case for range of values. You have to define case for range of values. The case for range of values requires a Boolean one. Boolean one. So very important here is, for example, here I am using false. I am using false. Case I am defining with false. That means it is showing it is 6 is between 11 to 20. The behavior will happen. For example, if I put here 1, one is equal to Boolean true. That means here you can see it's not working. That 0, 1 are referred as true or false, but always use only true or false because it will have abnormal behavior. In if condition, it was working fine. Or false. So always use Boolean here. That is why the reason I told you that it can contain only Boolean true. It cannot contain anything. Actually, Boolean true is represented with 1, but it cannot have. Switch cannot have false. Switch cannot have the representation. Contain only true. That is how it is going to handle. That is the Boolean condition, how it is going to basically how we write the switch. And this is an example for this. That means under the switch concept, lot of questions will be there. These are all various consequences. Can we define if condition in switch case? Can we define if condition in switch case? Can we define if condition in switch case? That means you are already writing a switch. Such situations also will come so many times. That means in a switch, you have to write conditions. That means again, based on the value, you have to handle it. That means generally, you are writing an if condition here. We can write an if condition here. That means here I can write here, if n is equal to 0. If n is equal to 0, then document dot like this. You entered 0. If it is not 0, then this can happen. This can happen. Like this, you are writing a condition. Writing a condition. N value is 0, but it is not matching now. If it is not matching, into which condition it will go to positive or 20. Positive or 20 or negative or 20. Already it is going to default now. It is going to default. If I make it enter into this, and suppose to enter into this condition, what should happen? N value 1 to 10. Then I entered here sum 4. What is that? It will display. It will display 4 is between 1 to 2. Enter into this case. After entering into that case, it will check the condition. And if condition is satisfying, then it will execute this one. If the condition is not satisfying, then it will execute this one. That means first it should enter into the case. After entering into the case, it will verify, is it 5? If it is 5, then it will say you entered 5. If not, it will take else one. That means it says your 7 is between 1 to 10. And if it is matching with that, then the condition is matching, then it can execute that. This situation, if within the case, syntax I will give you first here. Syntactically, you can write here case. Case, here we have a you can have if, then you can put a break. This is just syntax. That means the case and the conditions are defined like this. So we can define if condition within switch case. Now another question here is a switch inside case. So inside case, can we define a switch? So no, this is not recommended. You cannot define a switch inside case. That's not. Then how we do is we write in a separate function and call it inside it. We call through a function. Directly not recommended. Directly you don't. If condition, instead of if condition, I am writing here switch. Into the switch I am, and here I am writing case. This case is if it is 2, right? If case is 2, then document dot write So you entered 2, something like this. Then break. Then we defined another one. If then document dot write. So you entered 4 like this. If not, then default break. Okay, then we have default is printing the another switch. This is to handle, that means you are defining that here, and it says 5 is between 1 to 10, and you defined here, you configured here. Suppose it's working but not recommended. You should never do this. Same, you saw false is also working, it was working. So but will not work. So what is recommended then? What is recommended is we write this switch separate function. Understood? That means we define in a separate function as a choice. Choice is a function, and that switch we have to call here. Understood? Like this is good. Directly don't write a switch inside another switch. That is always complex. It may work at different situations, but at majority of situations it will abnormal in behavior. That is the reason never try to write a switch inside behavior. So can we define a switch inside switch? No, it is not. So always define a function and call using function. But don't do that. So always write this. This is important. So work properly. Abnormal behavior because of the breaks and return statements available. All that function and use inside the switch. These examples we will see. We will see what is the problem. We will discuss about that. Now, another important, many times people ask like how many cases I can write inside a switch. There is no limit for that. There we learned about products are there. I want to find one product and return that information. Don't use a switch for that. By using if condition also you can handle it, but don't do that. It is time waste. Better use find, filter and map. That means I will show you the point here. This is very simple. Suppose we are defining, that means suppose we are defining products. Products is an array of objects. Name some shoe, and the category is footwear. Another name is mobile, and the category is electronics. That means what I want to do is I want to get the footwear products. For loop, we can write a for, or we can write a switch or item. Yeah, for where item of what is the collection products. In this we write a condition if item dot can means I will print item dot name. This is how we are defining the details, print the details. Time waste. This is time waste. Conditions. Simple way. We have products dot what filter. Right? What filter will do? It will extract all the details that are matching with condition. Already we learned that, right? We write a function. What is it? We will read every item. What we will do? We will return what item dot category is matching with what electronics. This is the best. That means don't use conditions, don't use iterations, don't use switch cases if there are for choice between millions of hundreds of items. Don't waste time in iterations. Right. So don't waste time in iterations. Don't waste time in conditions and all this. Better. This will return an array. Na? Already I showed you that this will return an array. We can store that and we can use it. That already we done one example. We saw the one. Using any iterations and switch statements. I will show you the same example with switch and I will show you the difference. Same example of shopping cart we will design with a switch and conditions. Then you will see that better than switch, go with the filter and find options. Why? Because they are more easy. Again, if conditions and switch cases. That is the reason in modern programming, you will not see people writing these if conditions, iterations very much. As I already told you, people so don't use switch statements and if conditions if there are hundreds of options and we have to choose one out of them. Use the advanced methods provided by JavaScript. So you have filter, you have find, you have map. That's enough. So you can handle complex things that we will see with example now. Now we will see how to design a shopping cart like with API with our own hard-coded data. We will see now. That we'll see tomorrow. Right? Tomorrow entire session will be working with one example. That is shopping cart example. Is better for modern programming, but you should know both logics, how to handle them. Right? Tomorrow we will see that. Tomorrow we will discuss about it. Okay. Right.